So what's top of your mind right now on June 25th, getting ready for training camps, Albert? What's on top of mind
Um,
for you?
going to Nantucket.
Nice.
No.
Outside of that, obviously.
uh, yeah, I'd say, I think the big stories going into camp, the ones that I have circled at least would obviously be, Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh and what that looks like and how that's going to look when we get to September and
What's your
can
best
it be
guess?
the
What's your
sort.
best guess right now? What is your best guess on what that's going to look like,
I think he's going
Albert?
to play well, and I think it's for a couple different reasons. I think it's the nuance of why he went there over the Giants, right? And I think I've been over this with you before, but I really look at it like the Giants were going to ask him to do what the Jets asked him to do, which was take a young core that's got talent in it and lift it up. And the Steelers, and I believe the reason why he picked the Steelers over the Giants was because he'd be jumping on a moving train with guys who are legitimately his peers, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward. I mean, they're not as old as him, but obviously, the more veteran players in the league. And so, like, I think that urgency is gonna be palpable in their training camp. That this is sort of a one shot that this one shot that everybody there has. I think their offensive line is gonna be way better than people expect. I know people have criticized that and picked it apart. They had two rookies last year start on the offensive line that they think are going to be really good. Zach Frazier, they think he might be one of the best centers in the league this year. Mason McCormick playing next to him at guard. And then Troy Fatano was their first round pick, and he didn't play it down last year because he was hurt. So he'll slot in there at right tackle. Um, and I don't know, man. Like I know what a big Jets fan you are, and that you probably watched every snap of him last year. But the more people that I talked to that went against him said like when he's playing Miami, the Jacksonville game in particular, down the stretch, you started to see signs of the old Aaron coming back with the way he was moving and the way he was throwing it. And so I don't know. I put all of that stuff together, and I don't think the Steelers are going to be asking the world of him. I think they draft Caleb Johnson in the second round to make sure that they'll have, a strong run game. He'll be joining up with Jalen Warren there. And, like that he won't have to throw for 350 yards a game. So I think it's kind of an interesting dynamic there where it's Aaron jump on the moving train. We're going to have moments where you need to be a superstar, but we're not going to ask you to be a superstar the whole time. I think it's going to work.
I hear you, man. We were talking about that yesterday, fresh off of his appearance on Pat's show.
Yeah.
About him saying, this feels like this is going to be the end, and Tomlin is there, and it's a different ask, as you pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
When he went to the Jets, it was, hey, we're done with the kiddie club at quarterback, and we got a bunch of kids around here that have performed better. We're arriving earlier with our roster than we expected, so we've outgrown Zach. We need the adult in the room with the MVPs, and the Achilles blew up year one, and then year two, maybe a reason why I didn't want to go to the Giants is his coach gets fired in week 5, and reports are that the owner considered, he brought up the idea of benching Rodgers 4 games into the season because of a bad performance against a Denver defense that proved to be top 5 worthy as a conversation by the end of the day in the season. So why go back into that mix with the Giants? He comes to Pittsburgh, and the adults in the room are the guys you mentioned on defense, and the head coach, who's not going to be threatened by ownership. I mean, he gets to play the Packers and the rest of the NFC North one last time if this is his last run at it. The AFC East also makes total sense, Albert. Total sense.
Yeah, and I think it's just the relationship building they've been able to do too. I think sort of reflects how this is going to work, in that. So they talk in March, then Aaron, they try to sneak Aaron in through like a construction entrance. Didn't work, in a white Chevy Malibu in March. And then after that, they're able to kind of maintain this level of trust where it's like, I don't know if it was like he gave them his word, but I think it was pretty close to that, where I had somebody there say, like, we took his word and we believed him, that he'd eventually be here, and then he has like this string of conversations, and that wasn't like scheduled. It wasn't like, all right, Monday at 3, me and Mike or me and Arthur are going to sit down and talk. It was just natural, organic conversations that would happen over the course of the spring and March and April and May, and they're building an offense for him because they do trust that he's eventually going to be there. And Arthur Smith's staff did the same sort of deep dive on him, on Aaron, that they did the year before with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and trying to figure out what those guys are good at, even though Aaron Rodgers wasn't on the roster while they were doing it. So I think, for all those reasons, just the level of trust that's there, the synergy, the fact that so many people in the building are his peers. And like you said, like the fact that the situation with Mike Tomlin there is sort of the antithesis of what he was dealing with the Jets after Robert got fired last year. Mm-hmm. I think all of it flows into why it's a good match.
Robert Breer here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.